When you thought things could not get any worse, Nafisa Collier officially canceled the meeting with WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert.
The WNBA is in utter chaos. Nafisa Collier's cancellation of her meeting with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert threatens to obliterate the 2026 season. Fans are calling this the point of no return, as the league's biggest star has directly rejected its leader. Can the WNBA possibly survive this? This is arguably the most disastrous and chaotic week the WNBA has faced in years. Nafisa Collier, MVP runner-up Olympian, and a key union leader, has officially pulled out of her scheduled meeting with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. This meeting was intended to finally de-escalate weeks of intense conflict. Instead, it's completely fallen apart, and the reason is stark. Kathy Engelbert took the stage before Game 1 of the WNBA Finals, and on live television, essentially called Collier a liar. Engelbert used that platform to address what she termed false reports, explicitly denying Collier's claims, especially the now infamous assertion that Caitlin Clark should be grateful for her off-court earnings. That denial, delivered so publicly, was the moment everything fractured. For Nafisa Collier, this wasn't just a simple denial, it was a profound public insult. Recall what Collier had stated just a week prior. She courageously spoke out about the league's severe mismanagement, the deteriorating quality of officiating, and the pervasive disrespect players face at every level. She wasn't merely venting. She was articulating undeniable facts that every player had been complaining about for months. She then recounted a private conversation with Engelbert, where the commissioner allegedly stated that only losers complain about refs, and that Caitlin Clark should simply be grateful for the platform the WNBA provides her.
Take a moment to address some important conversations happening across the WNBA, including remarks made earlier this week by Nafisa Collier. First, let me repeat this. You saw it in my statement, but I have the utmost respect for Nafisa and for every single player in our league. They are at the center of everything we do. I was disheartened to hear that some players feel the league and me personally do not care about them or listen to them. And if the players in the W don't feel appreciated and valued by the league, then we have to do better and I have to do better. We know how great these players are on and off the court, how much they mean to our league, our fans, and our communities. If they don't feel that, I will do everything I can to change that. No one should ever doubt how deeply I care about this league, this game, and every single player who makes the WNBA what it is.
So when Engelbert appeared on camera, in front of reporters, and vehemently denied everything, it was as if she looked every player directly in the eye and accused them of fabricating their experiences. This is not how you repair a league that is already struggling to maintain cohesion. This wasn't just a personal slight to Collier. Every player in the league rallied behind her. Sophie Cunningham spoke out in support. Breanna Stewart liked social media posts backing her. And even Caitlin Clark, who notoriously avoids drama, publicly affirmed that Collier had made a lot of valid points. So when Engelbert denied it all, that was far more than just a public relations misstep. It was career suicide. Now Collier is done talking. She has officially canceled their planned meeting, which was set for this week. Sources have told ESPN that the relationship between the two is beyond repair. That phrase alone should send shivers down the league's spine, because Collier is not just any player. She is the vice president of the WNBA Players Association. This means that if she is done with Engelbert, the entire union is done with Engelbert. No trust means no negotiations. No negotiations mean no new collective bargaining agreement, CBA deal. And no CBA deal means no season. That is the grim reality we face right now. And it's truly astonishing how rapidly this situation has spiraled. Just 2 weeks ago, the league was celebrating unprecedented TV ratings. Caitlin Clark was hailed as the future. Sponsors were lining up, and everyone believed this was the WNBA's moment. Now, look where we are: one disastrous press conference, one enraged player, and the entire structure could collapse before the 2026 season even begins. It's almost impressive how consistently the WNBA manages to shoot itself in the foot. But let's be clear, Collier had every legitimate reason to be furious. She put her entire career on the line by publicly challenging the commissioner, a move players rarely dare to make. And instead of acknowledging her courage or attempting to find common ground, Engelbert immediately reverted to full defense mode, like a corporate CEO desperately trying to protect her company's stock price. Lots of inaccuracies out there, she declared, referring to social media reporting. This implied that every player complaint was merely social media noise. This is the same dismissive tone she adopted last year, When players complained about the lack of charter flights and debilitating schedule fatigue, her response then was the same rote line, "We're looking into it." Translation: we don't care right now. That is the fundamental problem. Engelbert manages the WNBA like a sterile business report, not a dynamic sports league. Every answer she gives sounds like it's lifted directly from a corporate PowerPoint presentation. Meanwhile, players are literally getting fined for accurately stating that the officiating is poor, and they are begging for even basic respect. So when Nafisa spoke out, she was essentially giving voice to what everyone else was too afraid to say. And that is precisely why canceling this meeting is such a monumental development. It signifies that she is done participating in the league's carefully orchestrated PR game. She is telling the league, "We are no longer doing this behind closed doors. You publicly lied about me, so we are finished." This isn't just an outburst of anger. It is a calculated strategy.
Like, we may not have a 2027 WNBA, a 2026 WNBA season.
Consider what is imminent. The collective bargaining agreement is on the verge of expiring. This is the crucial deal that dictates player salaries, benefits, and the revenue split. The deadline is at the end of this very month. The players and owners are supposed to be in active negotiations right now, and their lead negotiator has just canceled her meeting with the commissioner. This is akin to calling off peace talks mere minutes before a war is declared, and it gets even worse. If the players fail to sign a new deal by that deadline, the league automatically enters lockout status. That means no one gets paid. No one can train at team facilities, sponsors will withdraw, TV contracts will be paused. Essentially everything grinds to a halt. Given the current severe animosity between the players and Engelbert, a lockout is beginning to look distressingly real. ESPN literally quoted a source, stating that players don't feel they can negotiate with her. So what happens next? Well, some voices are now suggesting that Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, might have to intervene and fire Cathy Engelbert, simply to save the league. That is the depth of this crisis. Because if Collier refuses to meet with her, then no other player will, and if no player will meet, there will be no new CBA. And if there's no new CBA, there will be no 2026 season. It is truly that simple. Let's call this exactly what it is, a complete and utter meltdown at the very top. And it's not as if this came out of nowhere. Players have been deeply unhappy for months. We've seen Sophie Cunningham publicly rant about the league's leadership. We've even Alyssa Thomas get ejected for just questioning officials. We've even seen Elena Delle Donne, a legendary player, retire without so much as a thank you from the league office. How is that even possible? There are only 44 players in the entire WNBA, and you can't even send a courtesy email to a Hall of Famer? Come on. The players see these glaring examples. They notice how little effort leadership expends on their behalf. And then after all that, they are told to be grateful. That is precisely why they are so angry. And Nafisa Collier was the one who finally possessed the courage to articulate it out loud. But now, because she spoke out, we might not have a league at all next year. Think about how truly insane that is. A league that was just beginning to experience unprecedented growth might completely collapse because its commissioner couldn't tolerate criticism and chose instead to publicly correct the record on live television. You simply cannot invent this kind of drama. And let's not overlook the timing either. All of this unfolded right before the WNBA Finals, the biggest stage of the entire season. Instead of headlines celebrating the Aces and the Mercury, every single news report was dominated by Cathy Engelbert versus Nafisa Collier. That, by any definition, is a public relations nightmare. And guess who inevitably gets blamed for it? The player. You just know the league office will pivot and declare, "This is why we can't increase salaries. Look at all this bad press." It's always the same, tiresome cycle. But the truth is, this is not a player problem. This is fundamentally a leadership problem. The commissioner's primary responsibility is to protect both the league and its players. If you are incapable of doing both, you should not hold that job. And right now, Cathy Engelbert is unequivocally failing at both. Now let's delve into the long-term ramifications, because this is far more than mere drama. This could definitively decide whether the WNBA even has a 2026 season. At this very moment, both sides are locked in a silent, tense standoff. The players are furious. The commissioner appears completely lost. And the owners are pretending everything is fine, while secretly praying the NBA steps in to clean up this colossal mess. And guess who is caught directly in the middle of all this? Caitlin Clark. Because every single decision, every argument, and every headline somehow circles back to her name. It's as if she's the only player in the league that everyone, fans, owners, and players alike, can agree generates money. And that is the entire issue here. The WNBA finally found a breakout star who consistently fills arenas. And instead of strategically building around her, the league has managed to transform her into a focal point for chaos. Think about it, Cathy Engelbert should have been publicly thanking her, developing major marketing campaigns centered on her, perhaps even negotiating a lucrative TV deal specifically focused on her matchups. But instead, she went and embroiled Clark in the center of a political war. Now Caitlyn's name is being carelessly thrown around in every single CBA conversation, despite the fact that she hasn't uttered a single negative word about anyone. That is how utterly messy this situation has become. And then there's Unrivaled, the off-season league founded by Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart. This could very well end up being the WNBA's biggest headache, because if there is indeed a lockout and the WNBA effectively shuts down for a season, guess where all the top players will go? Straight to Unrivaled. It is already meticulously built to compete. They've secured sponsors, established gyms, and attracted enough big names to run a solid, compelling product. So, if the WNBA collapses, even for just a year, players won't be sitting at home idle. They will be actively playing in a league that is owned and operated by their own teammates. That is what makes this entire situation even more incredibly awkward, because from an outside perspective, it appears that Collier benefits either way. If the WNBA manages to get its act together, she wins as a player. If it crashes and burns, her new league instantly becomes the dominant alternative. You can label that smart business or a significant conflict of interest. But either way, Cathy Engelbert looks like she is utterly losing control of the room. And let's be frank, she is simply not built for this kind of chaos. She comes from Deloitte, a corporate world where people speak of synergy and pipeline optimization. That approach works fine when you are meticulously balancing spreadsheets. But this is professional sport. You cannot talk your way out of a highly public feud with players who have millions of passionate fans meticulously watching their every move. At this point, it truly feels like the players don't just want reform, they want replacement. They want Engelbert gone. Fans online are already actively calling for Adam Silver to fire her before the new year. And honestly, that might be the only viable way this crisis gets resolved. Because right now, every single systemic problem, from lagging ticket sales to poor officiating to genuine player safety concerns, all ultimately traces back to leadership. You simply cannot expect trust from your players when your commissioner's initial move after facing criticism is to go on stage and declare, actually they're wrong. So yes, Nafisa canceling that meeting was monumental. It wasn't merely a personal decision, it was a potent, unambiguous message. It communicated we are done being polite. And honestly, who can blame her? The players have exhausted every possible avenue, they've held internal meetings, they've spoken out publicly, and they've even risked significant fines. The league's consistent response has been a pattern of denial and calculated silence. The WNBA loves to constantly proclaim, we're growing the game. But how can you possibly grow anything when your most vital assets, your players, feel completely ignored and disrespected? Let's be brutally honest. The only reason the league hasn't completely fallen apart yet is because the players themselves keep saving it. The very same athletes whom the league underpays are the ones single-handedly keeping it alive. Caitlin Clark brings in the unprecedented fan engagement. Angel Reese brings in the crucial headlines. Aja Wilson brings in the hard-earned championships. Meanwhile, the people running the league consistently bring in bad press and internal strife. If this pattern continues, 2026 won't just be a canceled season. It might very well be the year the players finally seize full control. And that, more than anything else, is the part that should absolutely terrify the WNBA off. Because if the players realize they truly don't need the existing league to survive, it's definitively over. They will take their massive fan bases, their growing list of sponsors, and their undeniable star power, and they will build something entirely new. And the truly sad part is, the fans lose too. Because for once people were genuinely watching women's basketball again. The Caitlin Clark effect was a verifiable phenomenon. Arenas were selling out, kids were enthusiastically buying jerseys. For the first time in years, it felt like undeniable momentum was building. And now it's all slipping away, because one executive couldn't tolerate being called out and decided to publicly deny the truth. If the league genuinely cared about growth, they would fire Engelbert tomorrow and immediately begin the painstaking process of rebuilding relationships with their players. Because right now, there is no coming back from this unless someone steps in and steps in fast. The CBA deadline is rapidly closing in, the union is refusing to talk, and the fans are watching the entire foundation crumble in real time. So here we are, one canceled meeting away from a canceled season. Do you think Nafisa did the right thing by walking away, or should she have met with Cathy anyway despite everything? Drop your thoughts below. I genuinely want to hear what you think, and if you're new here, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more insight.